Welcome to the Three-Piece Combo MMA Show, brought to you by the 5 Reasons Sports Network. I'm your host, Johnathan, aka Three-Piece Combo, and as you guys can see, we're in a little bit of a different setup. The boys joined me today as we did just watch Jorge Masvidal kind of get ragdolled by Colby Covington. It was a disappointing performance, but on the positive note, me and Johan, we both went 5-0 in our main card picks. After going a little rough in the prelims, 2-2, and not so great in the prelims, but we're still here and we're perfect in the main card. So let's get right into it. We just saw the main event. Colby Covington defeated Jorge Masvidal 5 rounds. It went to the decision. It was the most likely result. Most of us thought that Jorge was going to be able to at least survive, and survive he did. Right, Colby put him in some good positions, but at the end of the day, it was still Jorge mostly on the defensive. There was one nice moment where he clipped him, but it just seemed like he was way too tired to continue and follow up on those shots. So Johan, I'll go to you, bro, man. What were your thoughts and reactions? I mean, I saw your reaction, but what were your thoughts about the main event tonight?
Yeah, honestly, I don't know, man. I had a feeling that it was gonna not live up to expectations, and that it didn't. It was a Colby Covington fight, if we're being honest. It was kind of a ragdoll fight where he kind of pushed the pace, but it was very uneventful. And then not only that, but you kind of saw that it wasn't the same Jorge Masvidal in that fight. I mean, he just kind of looked sluggish. Timing was off, and he just kind of let Colby Covington do whatever he wanted to him. And overall, I can't really say anything positive about the fight. I mean, granted, Colby Covington's performance, although dominant, it wasn't impressive because even with the washed Jorge Masvidal, he was able to get dropped. So I can't really say I was impressed with either fighter in this fight. And overall, I'm leaving a little shorthanded and kind of disappointed at the end of this card.
Yeah, it was one of those cards, honestly, that Bruce, you mentioned this earlier. There wasn't really any standout fights. It was a card that you had most of the people that you would expect it to winning, except for maybe some of the early prelims, with Agapova taking the loss and Tagir taking the loss there. But Bruce, before we get into that, I want to know what were your thoughts on the main event tonight?
So I gotta agree with Johan 100%. You kind of saw it in the first round. George didn't look like himself at all. His fast twitch muscles seemed to have not been with him. He wasn't firing on all cylinders like he usually is. He wasn't ready to counter like he usually is. It was honestly, it was weird for me. I've watched George fight a lot of times. I watched George's career even before the UFC. And he's always been known for those fast reflexes, those fast twitch muscles, and being able to counter. I didn't see any of that. In fact, I thought maybe if I wasn't going to see any of it, it was going to be because Colby, drowns him, and then you don't see it no more in the later rounds. But we didn't even see that in the first couple of minutes. Like, where was George? I mean, at the end of the fight, he said he was flat. He was definitely flat. Like, it was the worst George I've ever seen. And it makes you think, if you looked at his midsection, he did have a little extra weight. And I don't know if that says anything. I mean, he's rich now. He's rich. Like, I don't know what kind of lifestyle he's living. I've heard even back in the day when he was in his prime years, age-wise, that he was the type to slack, not train, eat unhealthy, do crazy things, go party the night before. He was known for that sometimes, to do things like that. But now he's rich. So is he really doing that? Did he underestimate Colby? Did he think, oh, I'm just going to go in there and beat Colby up? Or was it all of the pressure of, yo, this guy talked about my kids. This guy talked about this. Because even at the press conference, he's like, keep talking about my kids. Keep talking about my kids. Was that the pressure that made him gas out before even doing anything in the first round? Probably. So honestly, I'm surprised. I'm shocked. I'm disappointed. I'm a huge Jorge Masvidal fan. I don't like Colby like most people don't like Colby. But like Johan said, the fact that George was even able to rock him at all and Colby wasn't able to stop George just shows, honestly, that I think Colby is a little bit overrated. I think he's a good fighter. I think he is top 10, top 15 for sure. I think he's just a little overrated. He's fighting a lot of fighters that are a little bit past their prime. And I think these guys are in danger, both of them, if they fight someone like Hamza.
I mean, Hamza just seems leaps and bounds above both these guys right now. I mean, if you looked at just the way they fought tonight, neither guy really looked that impressive. Both guys looked like they were a little bit short. To your point, Bruce, Colby just didn't look like good at all, right? I mean, with having that much dominant positioning and having that much top control and being able to get on the back, and you would think he would be able to get a rear naked choke at some point in there, wear him out, get him down, but he wasn't able to get him out of there. He was, and then on the opposite hand, Jorge, when the looping punches were coming and the openings were there, and he actually dropped them instead of following up, he just kind of waited, and that's something we usually don't see from a guy that has a killer instinct. We didn't see that killer instinct tonight. And I think that was the main thing that was missing from Jorge Masvidal was he spoke so much about, hey, the headline is going to read Colby Covington wakes up Monday morning, in the critical condition. And, he didn't do that at all, and that killer instinct just wasn't there. So I want to go to you guys and I just want to get, what do you think that Jorge really lacked in this fight? Like, what do you think the main reason he lost this fight was? Because we know, the wrestling was going to be a big factor in this fight. And we knew that he was going to be able to stuff a lot of the shots, which he did earlier. But then later in the fight, and when he had his eye poked, he was able to get taken down. And once he, just laid flat on his back, Colby was able to kind of get into that half guard, half mount position, keep a hold of that neck, and just kind of wear on Jorge enough for him to have to stay in that position, or else he would put himself in a more threatening position. So, Bruce, I'll go to you on this one first. And I just want to thank Alex M and Caleb Burge for joining us this evening. Alex M saying,
Hey, what's up?
Alex M saying Colby ain't overrated. Jorge has only been submitted once in his career. I don't think Colby was ever going to get it. George lacked energy. He's rich. I can't remember who said it, but they said that it's very hard to wake up when you're waking up in silk sheets, right? It's not easy to go train when you're waking up in those silk sheets in the morning, having some nice Versace robes to go into as well, and the women, right? That's not too bad part of it though. But yeah, his cardio doesn't lack, so probably not sure how long. Yeah. But as far as this one go, like I said, I'll go to you first, Bruce. What do you think he lacked? The main thing he lacked in this fight, coming into it.
Honestly, I think he lacked being himself. I think he lost a sense of himself, maybe through the drama, maybe through the hype, maybe through the money, maybe through a combination of all the above, maybe just being older, maybe past his prime, maybe everybody has that day. They go into the fight and that dog isn't in them as much as it was. The killer instinct is a little faded, and every fighter has that. And it's always sad when we see it with a fighter that we like. And I think all of us were rooting for George, but we knew that was a very possible outcome of Colby just grinding him out because of all these factors and styles and stuff like that. But I think what he was lacking was being himself. I think if he was himself, for sure, we would have saw more killer instinct, and we saw a piece of it. And just with a piece of it, he hurt Colby. Just a piece of it.
Good.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I agree with Alex. I don't think Colby Covington's overrated, but I also can't lie to say that they both look like shit today. Like, it was very unimpressive. I think that Colby being at MMA Masters, I think he's actually deteriorated as a fighter in terms of his striking. His striking has been looking really bad. He still has the same wrestling, but I think that's because of his wrestling prowess, not because of MMA Masters. I think that he needs to change camps if he wants to stay at the elite. If he wants to stay at the top 5 and, stay in title contention, he needs to change camps, because I don't think MMA Masters is doing it for him. The way he's fighting now, he's not going to beat guys like Hamza. I don't even think he beats Gilbert Burns. And I think that, like, honestly, like, he wouldn't beat the young guys coming up either. But with that being said, with Jorge, I think it's just father time, man. I think it's a combination of the knockout loss to Kamaru Usman, speeding up father time and speeding up that aging process. His reflexes and his reaction time's not as it used to be in 2019, maybe even 2020. Like, it's just not there anymore. And he was getting clipped with a lot of shots against Colby Covington that he really shouldn't have. And overall, I think he should just kind of reassess his career at this point, because is it really worth it? You have the most lucrative one of the most lucrative contracts in the UFC history. Is it really worth it to fight and take more damage if physically and mentally you're not there anymore?
Yeah, that's the fight. That's the question, right? Because do you want to take that damage to the brain? Because we do have to remember this is a sport that every time they enter the octagon, they're taking months, years off their life. How much is that money worth? You know, like you said, he has that lucrative cage or that lucrative paycheck coming in. I do want to shout out the boy Cap for Life, who's always joining us on our fight combat shows, saying Jorge should have finished when he had the chance. I think we all agreed. Bruce said he should have followed up with some straights, gone right into it because he had him down on one knee, man. He had him right down, and that's where that killer instinct lacked, and that's where we didn't see that. And maybe it is father time. And Alex Sam bringing up a great point. You know, Jorge had no tank to finish. He didn't, right? He was gassed, and I think all the wrestling just wore him down. And you can see even at the end of the fight, he had a tough time answering Joe Rogan's questions just because it was that taxing of a fight. So Alex, I'm saying, does Colby beat Leon Edwards? I do. No, you guys don't think so?
I don't think so. I think because Leon Edwards has a pretty good takedown defense, and also he also pushes the pace. And I think that if he's able to because Colby's not good offensively, but he's also very bad defensively standing up. And Leon Edwards is a really good boxer. If if Jorge Masvidal was able to clip him, Leon Edwards would easily finish him in a fight. I think that Leon Edwards is in his prime, and I don't think Colby would even want to fight Leon Edwards right now.
Yeah, the way Leon cracked Nate in the fight with Nate, the way he really dominated Nate, honestly, all the rounds until he got cracked himself. I think Leon showed that that if he fought Colby and he hit Colby remotely as many times as he hit Nate, Colby would not have been able to take it like Nate. He would have been finished. I think styles wise, people would lean towards Colby, and I get that, you know. But just to kind of touch back a little bit earlier about the overrated part, I do think Colby's overrated. Why? Because he should not be number one. He beat up everybody past their prime to get there, and one of them was a guy who was like 40, used to be a middleweight. The other guy used to be a lightweight, past his prime. He fought a bunch of people past his prime to get to that number one spot. He didn't fight no up and coming young hungry guys like Kamzat or just any other of these young up and coming guys. I think Colby would have bro, he would have lost. You know, he would have lost a lot earlier.
Oh, that last comment.
Yeah, Alex Sam bringing up a great comment. This was similar to Usman versus Jorge 1. I think the secret was out then. Got lucky versus Oscar, and that's a great point.
I think he did, honestly. I really do.
Because he showed that he can stop the takedown. Oscar probably could have won that fight, but hey, coulda, shoulda, woulda, but hey, he didn't, right? And Cat for Life saying, I don't know about you guys, but I'm infatuated with Kevin Holland.
We'll get to that.
Hey, we will get to that for sure, man, because I think we're all three here big Kevin Holland fans. But I do want to get to two questions before we wrap up this talk on the main event. The question first is, who does Colby beat at the top of the welterweight division? So we know that the probable next fight for him is going to be Dustin Poirier, right? Just because we know he's probably looking for the money fights, and he know that Dustin's the money fight, right? He beat Conor McGregor, so he got a little bit of that rub. But I want to talk about legitimacy and kind of just how skilled is he as a welterweight right now. So looking at the rankings previous to tonight, you had Colby at 1, Gilbert Burns at 2, Leon Edwards 3, Vicente Luque at 4, Bilal Muhammad, and then we got Jorge at 6. So of those top 4, and I'll throw in Hamzat Chimaev because he is going to be fighting the number 2 ranked Gilbert Burns. Which one of those guys do you think Colby actually beats? Do you think Colby beats all 5 of those guys with this new MMA Masters and what he's doing now? Or do you think this is a different Colby and that he wouldn't be able to withstand the current top of the division given the way he ranked up, beating, like you said, a past prime Maya, a past prime Woodley, right? The other fight was good for him to win that interim belt, but is he up to that current welterweight division rankings? Johan, I'll start with you, bro.
Okay, so looking at the rankings right now, I'm looking, and the one that I feel certain that he can beat is Bilal Muhammad. Everybody else, 1 through 3 or 2 to 4, is a tough matchup. Like that's like a pick'em fight, not in Colby's favor, I would say. I think that Vicente Luque is better on the ground, grappling wise, than him, and I think he would pick him apart on the feet. Leon Edwards, way better boxer than Colby. Gilbert Burns, stronger fighter than Colby. So it's like those 3 fights would be like even, but not in Colby's favor. Bilal Muhammad's like the only one that I'm certain that Colby couldn't beat. But it's like the other ones, it's like because with this new training with MMA Masters, he's not looking good. He's not looking impressive. And the thing is, I've seen a better Colby. I've seen Colby's game plan be impressive with ATT. He needs to go to a top training camp like AKA or even Team Alpha Male somewhere, or Elevation, somewhere where he can, actually go back to that old Colby where he was throwing a lot of volume and not looping shots.
So I think Colby doesn't stand a chance against the current people at the top. I think the only person he should fight, if he's going to fight anyone in the top 10, if he's not going to fight Dustin and try to pick these smart fights, which I think is smart for him to go after Dustin, because he has like Dustin's kind of weakness. Go for the neck, hang on the back, go for the neck, hang on the back. So, but I think on this list specifically, if he's gonna fight anyone, who does he have a better chance against? Honestly, would probably be Stephen Thompson, just because of timing, prime wise. He's past his prime. His grappling is his weakness. Bilal just showed that. I think Bilal would actually destroy Colby just based on momentum right now and based on just where they're at in their career right now. And Bilal's not a slouch, and he has great cardio, and he's a strong grappler as well. And I think Gilbert would destroy Colby as well, just because of his explosiveness, as long as he's the same, because he might not be the same. He got finished by Kumaru, and if he gets finished again by Khamzat, you're not the same fighter no more, bro. Right. If you get knocked out twice in a row. So that means that'd be perfect, actually, because Colby's smart like that, bro. He'll probably call Gilbert out after Gilbert gets knocked out twice in a row. But Gilbert's a dangerous matchup. Leon, dangerous matchup. It has to be Stephen Thompson if he wants to stay in the top 10 and beat someone that's kind of relevant in a way or has a name. But I think he should just stick to calling out a lightweight like Dustin.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you guys. I think, to your point, Johan, I think Bilal Muhammad would probably be the toughest matchup, because I think Bilal is just kind of a less skilled version of Colby Covington at this point in his career, right? I do think Bilal Muhammad can continue, and he has use that cardio as a weapon kind of thing, where he does it very well. He has that nice little low kick. He'll push the pace. He'll back you up. He strikes to wrestle very well. But I think he's just a little half tier below Colby. Burns with the submissions and having that power, like you said, that explosivity will make it hard. The same thing with Luke, right? Luke is just a little bit of a harder hitter. So if he gets in close, that Muay Thai and that explosiveness is going to be great there. It would be really, really good. So let's get into the last question for this main event before we move on to next. What is next for Jorge Masvidal? Because he lost this fight. He lost the fight by knockout versus Usman. And then before that, he lost the fight versus Usman via decision. Now, he's kind of on a downward spiral. He hasn't been doing the best. Who do you guys think should be next for Jorge Masvidal? Bruce, I'll start with you on this one.
It's tough. I mean, being a real George fan since the backyard street fights, I only want what's best for him. So I'm not going to go based on I'm going based on if I was his friend, if I was his manager, the best next fight would be man, that's still tough. What?
He said, retire and get rid of that tattoo.
Honestly, I would say retire. I would, because I don't want to see him get hurt. But I would say maybe give him one more fight with someone. But who? I mean, that is a tough question. Honestly, I don't think I have the answer for that. I mean, if you're going to throw him in with somebody again, it might as well just be a money fight. Get him in there with Nate too. Or you know what? Actually, screw it. Call out Nick Diaz. Get that's a more even fight right now, the way George looked today.
Yeah, no, I definitely think I definitely think that that Versace robe is calling him, man. He needs to go back to just lounging, bro. I don't think he should fight again, for his sake, because we all know he's gonna fight again. There's no doubt about it. He's gonna continue fighting because he just signed an extension, a lucrative extension, mind you. So he needs to fight if he wants to get paid. But the problem is he still has so much name value that you can't give him no bullshit fight. he still needs to be a co-main event or main event fight because he just holds too much star power not to. So that means you have to give him someone like Conor, who I think is too fast for him at this point in his career, or Nate, who I think has more cardio than him in his career. So again, I agree with Bruce. Nick Diaz and him will probably be the best matchup because I mean Nick Diaz, he looked real sloppy against Robbie Lawler. Jorge Masvidal looked real sloppy against Colby Covington. Let's just sloppy it up. Let's have a sloppy slugfest, and let's make some money. Because honestly, that's the only. If he can't fight, he has to fight big names. But the problem is, if he fights big names that are in their prime, he's gonna look really bad. So he's in such a tough position because now he's too big to fight the lower tier guys, but then he's not good enough to fight the top contenders. So he's in a really rough position right now.
Yeah, it's a tough position to be in when you don't have the skills to compete for a belt, but you're too good to just compete with just anybody. Like it has to be a draw. You don't want to put him against somebody that you know he's going to lose against because then he loses that name value. And then why sign him to that big money deal if you're just going to put him up against a guy he loses? Cat for Life saying, didn't Masvidal sign a new contract? He did. That's what Johan was just saying. He signed the most lucrative, what is it, second most lucrative contract of all time or third?
Like
Top three most lucrative contract.
Conor.
Yeah, and
Oh, then it's Conor and
yeah, so they're doing really good work over there. Cat for Life,
they're gonna go broke.
right?
They can't.
Cat for Life saying RDA shocked me. Great win. He didn't really shock us too much, and I'm going to answer this question before we get into that because I just want to wrap up this here. I think it's a tough position for Jorge Masvidal to be in, just because, to both of your points, he's too good to fight anybody that just an anybody right now. So for him, I mean, I would love to see the Conor matchup personally, right? I think he beats Conor. I think he's a little bit stronger than Conor, and I think he showed the leg kicks tonight too, right? He was doing really good work with those low leg kicks, and you saw at the end of the fight, Colby had a little bit of a little nice bruising behind that thigh over there. So it would be a nice little fun fight, and I think that would be nice there. Jorge saying, or Alex M saying Jorge should consider dropping weight again. I think that's just too much for him. He weighs about 190 on his regular days, so I don't think going to 155. So did he lose the BMF belt? No, they didn't put it up, and I'm so happy they didn't because like put it up against CM Punk, AEW baby. Yeah, go. Hey,
No, in the UFC.
Dan Lambert is already with AEW. Yeah. Tony Khan just signed Paige Van Zandt. I think he should give Jorge Masvidal a call. Yeah. Is Jorge Masvidal all elite? No. Damn. All right. But like I said, just want to close that out. Well, let's get into this co-main event because it was 5 rounds, and it kind of threw me off that it was being 5 rounds. But I forgot you mentioned that it was being rescheduled because it was supposed to be a fight night main event. But it was supposed to be RDA versus Viziev. Viziev dropped out due to, I think it was COVID. Yeah, and then Moicano ended up stepping up, and most of the fight was pretty boring. RDA just kind of dominated him on top. But man, that last like minute and a half where Moicano landed some strikes and looked like he was hurting RDA, that was pretty nice to see. But all in all, it was a pretty boring co-main event. It was just a technical destruction by RDA. He was able to dominate Moicano. And at the end of the day, RDA did what RDA is supposed to do. Maybe I hope he gets that fight against Viziev because I think that's a good matchup. Not for RDA, but I think that's just a good matchup overall for the UFC. But good win for RDA. What was your thoughts on it, Johan? I'll start with you.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't say it was. No, it was kind of boring. I'm not gonna lie. It was more uneventful. I don't want to use boring because that seems so like
Insulting.
And it sounds insulting, but it's kind of what it was. But I would say it was uneventful because it was expected. So obviously Moicano was coming 4 days short notice, right? So 4 days short notice. It's a 5-round fight. Obviously, it was expected that RDA would pick him apart and honestly grind him out. And I told you, I said RDA is probably going to take it to a decision. I didn't think that was before I knew it was 5-round fight because I thought if it was a 5-round fight, then Moicano was going to be gone. But honestly, like Moicano came out of this looking better because he showed a lot of heart. And then also he tried to go for the finish in that last 20 seconds of the fight. And he looked like he was clipping RDA. But overall, I mean, it was impressive for RDA and in terms of like dominance. But then again, it was a short notice fight and this was expected. But since dropping down back to 155, technically this was supposed to be a lightweight match. I'm not going to count it as a catchweight. He's been looking impressive. He's been looking like he's been turning back the clock. That being said, I still want to see him against like a top lightweight contender or a top lightweight prospect to see where he really is in this stage of his career. Because right now he's fought Paul Felder, who came in on short notice, and Moicano, who came in on short notice. So it's like we really haven't seen what the real RDA can do at 155.
Yeah, I agree. 100%. I think the fight between the Rafas would have been a better fight for sure. And I honestly think it would have been a bad matchup for RDA based on the performance he gave tonight. Doesn't mean that he would lose, because of course, styles make fights, and who knows, maybe he would have been fighting differently as well, because he knows he's fighting this young, hungry dude. Honestly, I think this switch up and kind of favored RDA to keep him afloat on the winning path, because I think him fighting the other Rafael could have been different. And honestly, I don't think someone like RDA should be fighting the up and coming young hungry guys. He should be fighting any other veterans that's in the top 5, top 10, because he was top 10 in 170 and he was previously a champion at 155. So I think he should be fighting another veteran, some kind of veteran that's in the top 10, to put himself back in the top 10 at 155. But honestly, I'm gonna be RDA looks great, looks in great shape today. Like, he looked amazing as far as physique wise, and he kept the pace. He lasted 5 rounds, which is something I would expect. Obviously, he has a lot of championship rounds in his experience. So I saw the regular RDA today, but honestly, it wasn't like an RDA when he was on that tear at 155 when he became the champion. So because I didn't see that RDA, I just don't feel like at this stage in his career that he's really going to become a champion again. Sad to say. I mean, look, I don't want to be like the pessimistic person for RDA. I love the guy. I love his everything he accomplished, but everybody has their time. And I think he dodged a bullet today by not fighting the other Rafael.
And to your point, actually, before closing up the thoughts on this one, how do you think that fight go down? Because Fiziev was a great Muay Thai specialist, ton of power. RDA, I think, might have a little bit of edge when it comes to the submission grappling side of things. And he showed tonight that he was able to take the fight down. But we got to remember, Moicano is somebody who's going up a weight class, right? He's coming up a weight class, and RDA is a guy who's coming down a weight class. So if you really think about it, they're meeting in the middle, but it's about a 20-pound difference, 15-pound difference there. Fiziev is a much bigger guy. So, Bruce, I'll start with you on this one. Who do you think gets it done, Rafael Fiziev versus Dos Anjos on this one?
I think, when it comes to fighting, me now watching, fighting now for literally over 2 decades, it's really about timing as well. It's not just about athleticism. It's not just about, your record and your strengths, because I've seen fighters lose that had certain weaknesses that the other fighter should have exposed, but for some reason didn't. So timing also matters. And I feel like right now, based on timing, it would favor I can't say his last name, man. Fiziev. Okay. It would favor Fiziev. And honestly, you saw Renato putting it on him at the end. If that was Fiziev, well, that boy has power. Probably would have knocked, honestly. You saw RDA get knocked out early in his career by Jeremy Stevens, right? So I think at this stage in his career, I think honestly it would have been a bad fight for him. I think he probably would have got finished if he fought the same way he fought Renato tonight. I think he would have probably got finished by Fiziev.
Yeah, no, I think Fiziev would have won the fight. I think he would have finished him, honestly, because Fiziev is one of those prospects that is destined for greatness. Yeah. I subscribe to this MMA on Point, and they were talking about like the top prospects of 2022, and he was at number 1 because just his skill set is just made to be a top contender, or even a world champion in the UFC. And the thing is, like, at this stage of RDA's career, I don't think he would have been able to withstand the constant pressure and also the punishment from Rafael Fiziev. So honestly, he did dodge a bullet in this one.
Yeah, I'm right there with you guys. I mean, you saw if Moicano can hurt RDA and you have a guy, to Bruce's point, just to kind of summarize what both you guys said, the power would have been too much. RDA isn't really known for his speed, and we know that he's not necessarily the guy with the greatest chin. We've seen him been put out before. We know that he's on the back end of his career. And then you have a rising star prospect in Fiziev. I think Fiziev would have got that knockout. And he did dodge a bullet, but RDA looked good in this fight. You know, he was able to get a pretty dominant win for the most part, and all props to him for continuing to extend this continued success that he's having. So congratulations to RDA. Let's get into this next fight because I think this was one of my favorite fights of the night. Kevin Holland in his welterweight debut at 170 pounds, knocking out Cowboy Alex Oliveira in the second round. Now, the first round for him looked a little shaky. A couple of those leg kicks looked like it really hurt him. It kind of looked like it even dropped him. But it looked like Imanari rolled to try to get a leg. I'm not sure if that was a kind of a compound effect of him getting dropped from the leg kick, but he was able to do that. And then in the second round, he was able to find a beautiful, was it right hook, that or check right hook or check right that hit him right on the chin, and he was able to get on top, finish him with some brutal ground and pound, and get it done. Now, Kevin Holland, I think this is a big win for him because he's coming off a couple of losses against Brunson and against Vittori that kind of show the holes in his game and also showed that that weight class might be just too much for him. So if he were to come in and take a loss in this welterweight division, he might have been stuck in limbo like, hey, this guy was on a tear and now he's on a 3-fight losing streak. He lost in both weight divisions, but he comes in, he beats a really savvy veteran in Cowboy Alex Oliveira, and now he's going to be kind of a little more looked at again in the welterweight division just to kind of have himself rise up those rankings. So Johan, I'll start to you on this one. What did you see in this Kevin Holland victory, and what do you think the future holds for him?
I think it's a step in the right direction, obviously. I mean, he's back in the win column and he's back to, Kevin Holland of the finish, the Kevin Holland who is looking to finish fights. That being said, he still needs to work on those holes in the game because he got taken down by Alex Oliveira easily, and Alex Oliveira I don't think is as strong or as aggressive as Marvin Vittori or Derek Brunson. So he needs to fix that in his game. He needs to work on his takedown defense because he's getting taken down by someone who is at 170, who's actually naturally a lightweight. So and he was the bigger fighter coming in, so that's a big hole in his game. But at the same time, he made major adjustments, and I said it before in the pre-fight. He's a really good counter fighter. He's an aggressive counter fighter as well, and he found that hole with that check. It looked like a check right hook, but it looked like he just placed that check right. So I'm just going to call it a check right. But once he did that, he was able to smother him. He was able to gas Alex Oliveira out once he was able to defend. And he was just able to finish beautifully. Great. Honestly, this fight, just because of his name, it could bring him into the top 15, in my opinion.
Yeah, I feel like, first off, we were all excited during the Kevin Holland fight, and we all got on our feet when he landed that. We all got on our feet, and we were all really excited about that fight in general because we know when it comes to a Kevin Holland fight, he's just one of those guys you don't know what you're going to get. I mean, he surprises people. He's knocked out Jacare from the bottom. He's probably one of the first guys to really knock someone out and really hurt him bad from the bottom with a nice, hook. It was like a hook right from the bottom. So I think the fight was exciting, but like Johan said, he showed the same weakness again, right? And honestly, Cowboy was doing very, very well. He even hurt him. He not only hurt his leg, but he hurt him with a punch that he landed an overhand right, I believe it was, right to the forehead and landed, I believe, that kind of hurt him a little bit. So honestly, I like Kevin. I'm a huge Kevin fan. I just think if Kevin doesn't close those gaps and fill those holes, it's going to be very hard for him to make it to the top 5 or championship material in either weight division, to be honest, because we're talking when you get up there, can he beat Colby? No, not even Colby. Can he beat? No. Can he can't beat Usman, of course. Khamzat, no. Can't beat Sean Brady. Oh, I forgot about Sean Brady. Okay. Yeah, so Kevin Kevin's one of those guys where he can shock you. He can beat guys. He's one of those guys that he can beat guys who have advantages over him. Why? Because he's wild. He's one of those fighters that will pull off a lucky knockout or TKO when you least expect it. Because in all reality, Jacare was about to manhandle him on the ground and probably submit him if he didn't get that punch from the bottom too. So you can never count Kevin out in any fight against anyone because he's wild. But he showed those weaknesses, man. And I don't, I like Kevin. I do like him a lot. I think he's gonna have a hard time making it to the top.
To your point, man, he still has holes in his game. And if somebody, although Alex Oliveira is one of the bigger, welterweights in that division, if you're still being able to get taken down by those welterweights, it's going to be tough for you to continue to do that. But to his point, right, he's still a pretty young fighter. He still has a long way to go before he really hits all of his fine, putting that mental and that physical together. So I do want to get into some of these rankings and talk about maybe what's next for him, because he called out Cowboy during the post-fight, but he retracted that in his post-fight interview, saying maybe somebody like Brendan Allen, I think he was calling out. But I'd have to fact check that one. I'm not sure who he's calling out there. But who do you guys think would be match up for him next? Maybe, somebody like, I thought Donald Cerrone would be great. Maybe you put him against somebody like Robbie Lawler, right? If you want to put a little bit of get some more of that shine on Kevin Holland, you put him up against Robbie Lawler. You got somebody maybe like Matt Brown, right? Somebody who's he does have a scheduled fight against Barbarena, or even Francisco Trinaldo. Got a couple options there. But who do you guys think Kevin Holland should fight next, and do you think he should fight a ranked fighter next?
I think that a fight that I would love to see him probably would be a main event for a fight night would be him against Robbie Lawler. That could be a big option for him. I mean, in terms of his name value and kind of if he wants to, take a step in the right direction for the welterweight division, that would be a fight that would not only help him in terms of his resume, but also, kind of get him another main event slot. Because right now he's 0-2 in main events, in 5-round fights. And I think that would be in his favor. Another fight that I see, there's actually 2 fights that I see that could be interesting. One against Santiago Ponzinibbio, be a striking, that would be a striking matchup that I would be excited to see. But another one is Michel Pereira. That could be also a fight night main event. And that could, spark up some fireworks. I don't know how good he would be against Pereira because Pereira is so unpredictable and creative as a striker. And I think he's a stronger guy in that one. Yeah. But those 3, I said 3, right? I said those 3 matchups, if he's not fighting Cowboy, would be great for him in terms of not only his name value, in terms of opportunities, but also if he wants to make a statement at 170.
Yeah, I agree. Where is Neil Magny? What's he ranked? Top 15?
Yeah, top 10, I think.
Can't be top 10. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Okay. Honestly, if you want to speed up his career, because he did fight top 5, top 10 in middleweight, maybe fight Neil Magny or the winner or the loser. Actually, maybe the loser between Neil Magny and Max Griffin. But I think Neil probably wins just because of his ability to hold you down. Mm-hmm. But that's a good test for Kevin to see if he's filling in those holes, right? But I agree also with the Matt Brown fight, honestly, as well. I think that's a good fight. Fight a veteran, fight a veteran that's supposed to be on his way out. Those are the guys you're supposed to be able to beat. I think another good good matchup for him, honestly, that would actually make an exciting fight and favor him a little bit more than these other matchups would be Nico Price. I think it'd be an exciting fight, interesting personality clash, an interesting stylistic clash. Somebody's going down because Nico's aggressive and he's the type of guy to kill or be killed, and Kevin's one of those guys that can give that kill shot. So I do think that those are my picks. I think do that unless you're trying to speed his career up. If you try to speed his career up, let him get the loser of Neil Magny and Max Griffin.
I think that's a perfect matchup for him. And I was actually that Nico Price is a beautiful matchup for him because that's if you look at his last 3 fights, I mean, he won against Cowboy Alex Oliveira in his last time out, decision win. he lost against Michel Pereira, and then there was a no contest against Donald Cerrone, right? So this is a perfect fight for him. And if for Nico Price, if you still trying to make a run and make up yourself up to a top contender, or at least be a contender, we know that he's not a top contender, but if you want to be a contender and maybe get yourself up to a ranked fight, this is a guy you want to beat, a guy that has some name value, a guy that's up and coming, a guy that's beating the same guy that you beat in the show. You can beat him a little bit better. So I think that would be a good matchup there for him. Let's get into this next fight. I don't know why I even skipped over this fight. Bryce Mitchell beat Elton Barbosa via unanimous decision, and it wasn't even close. I mean, I think there was 30-24 or 30-25, 30-26, 30-27, I think were the judging scorecards. But Bryce Mitchell, I mean, in the first round, we all just jumped out of our seats when he put him down with that beautiful straight shot, and it actually dropped Edson Barbosa. And I don't think that's something that none of us saw coming, was Bryce Mitchell dropping Edson Barbosa. Now, Edson came out very good at the beginning of the fight, throwing those leg kicks that we all know he's so good at. And it looked like he was doing a good job tearing up the inside and the outside of that lead leg of a Bryce Mitchell, which, you know, if a wrestler is trying to get to you, take out that lead leg, it's not so effective. Put him on their back foot. But Bryce Mitchell was able to actually drop Edson Barbosa. And then from there, get on top, threaten submissions, not actually get any submissions, but beautiful ground and pound, beautiful elbows. Very good job from Bryce Mitchell. And it was very, very great to see him just perform that well.
Yeah, no, I definitely was like very, very like impressed with Bryce Mitchell. I think that like I was expecting the grappling prowess of him. He showed why you good, man. He showed why he was just like one of the top grapplers in that featherweight division. Granted, he needs to improve on other parts of his game, like his stand-up or anything. Hey, other angle, nice to meet you. But I think that, just to see how dominant he was against Edson Barbosa on the ground, you saw that every position he was transitioning to, every mount he went to, he was trying to look for the finish, and he was progressively trying to, end the fight. He wasn't just trying to lay on Edson. He was just trying his best to get himself in the best position to secure a choke, or to, secure a transition to another choke. So he was always being active on the ground. And that's why I was impressed by him. Kind of something that, I expected. But again, if he wants to be a top contender in that stacked featherweight division, you're gonna have to improve on your striking, man. You were too centered on a lot of things. And if this was prime Edson could have capitalized. But this is a little past his prime. 145 Edson, a little slower. And Bryce was able to capitalize on that.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Edson passes prime. And I think when you're past your prime, that's probably not when you want to move down a weight class. I never agreed with that. I mean, look what happened with Pettis when he tried to go down a weight class kind of late in his career. He got demolished, right? So I don't think it's a good move for him right now. Maybe he looks good though. He does look good, and he started off good, leg kicks, right? Just don't think he did enough of it. And then also, I just don't think anyone expected Mitchell to really land that punch that he landed, that straight that rocked him temporarily. Now, I think that what Edson should have done is kept it as strictly a boxing match. Yeah, he got hurt, so I understand. Maybe, he had to get his confidence back. But if he would have kept it as strictly a boxing match with the occasional leg kick, not too many kicks, especially no body kicks, he would have gotten taken down less, because he does have a good ability to avoid takedowns, especially when they're not in on his legs. He's very good at getting out. But it was literally, for me, like I'm watching a young up and coming guy going against a guy who's on his way out. And if you're going to want to be a champion, if you're Bryce Mitchell and you want to be the champ, or you want to be top 5, you're supposed to finish this guy. This is everybody in the lightweight division that made it to the belt. They finished Barbosa to get there. Even Donald Cerrone finished Barbosa to get to that next level. It's like everybody it's almost like Edson's like a high level, like best of the best gatekeeper, and Bryce is not showing me that he's going to be top 5 anytime soon. So he needs to cover some gaps and get that striking.
Yeah, man, I'm gonna disagree with you there. You know what I mean? I felt like the dominance that he showed in this performance just kind of, I understand you want to finish somebody, but he was so dominant in this fight. It's almost as good as getting the finish. I mean, he made Edson bleed. The ground and pound was great.
30-24.
30-24, right? That's 3-10-8s, or 2-10-8s, whatever they gave them, because every judge scored a little bit differently on that one. But he was just so dominant in this fight. And it showed, like, even though he still has a big way to go, he's still undefeated. He's phenomenal on the ground. His transitions are great. He just beat one of the most lethal strikers in the history of the UFC. Completely neutralized it. Not only that, he dropped him as well, right? So, and we know that his striking isn't even that great. So that's where I'm going to disagree with you a little bit, because I understand your point, but we have to understand that he's going to continue to get better as a fighter over the next couple of years. And say he does take a loss or two, right? Those losses are too early going to continue to mold him. And right now he's still undefeated. He has that confidence of being an undefeated fighter. He just dominated Edson Barbosa, right? He's just going to only continue to raise his ceiling and get better because he already has such a great grappling foundation. So, I understand you want to finish the guy, but man, he did such a phenomenal job. It's just hard to knock any of that performance. So, any final thoughts here before we get on to what we want or what we think should be the next fight for Bryce Mitchell? Because a couple of interesting matchups, and I'll go ahead and pull it on the screen. I mean, he's now, 15-0? I want to say he's 15-0, and
That's an impressive
Edson wasn't ranked, right?
Edson, I believe, he was 11th ranked, unofficially, and officially he was
10th.
ranked
He's
10th. Yep. Officially, he was ranked 10th. Yep. So, looking right above him, you have Dan Ige, right? You have a couple of good matchups, and I'll pull it up on the screen.
That whole top 10 is nasty.
It's absolutely disgusting.
That's what I mean, though. Who is he going to beat in the top 5?
Well, I think he beats Dan Ige.
Yeah, that's guaranteed.
I
think he beats.
I think he beats Giga, and I think he beats Calvin.
Ooh, yeah, maybe.
I think he beats Calvin, man. I think he gets the pressure, even if he doesn't take him down. If it's a 5-round main event, I think he'll put the gas on.
Okay.
So I'll let you get to this one, and I'll answer this. So of those, fighters, Ige, Chikadze, Cater, am I missing anybody? Which one of those 3 fighters do you think, or do you think he beats all 3, or do you think some other person can hold a chance against him?
So Calvin Cater, I don't know if he'll beat him. I think that's a 50-50 fight. Ige, I think he does because Korean Zombie was able to take down Ige with ease. I think that Bryce Mitchell will double that. Giga Chikadze, I think that he still has holes in his game as well. He's still just primarily a kickboxer who's still transitioning into MMA, and I think that Bryce Mitchell will exploit that as well because Calvin Cater was able to take him down. And if Calvin Cater is able to take you down, then anybody's able to take you down. No offense to Calvin Cater, because you are still one of my favorite fighters. But I think another guy that he could beat. This may be, we might not be in agreement to this. I think he could beat Korean Zombie. I think he can because Korean Zombie is very flat-footed. And I think that, if he doesn't get caught with one of those hammers that Korean Zombie throws, he can take him down and he can neutralize him because Korean Zombie so flat-footed, his reaction time is not the best, and even in his prime, he's slow. He's slow, and his game was always based on putting pressure on. So if he's coming forward, that's going to give the best opportunity for Bryce Mitchell to just take him down, try to go for a double leg, and kind of just get his way. So honestly, anybody who's primarily in the stand-up, maybe not Yair Rodriguez. I think Yair Rodriguez might beat him up, but I think that Korean Zombie might, like, if we're talking about the highest rank that he could beat, it's at number 4. But Josh
could be a potential future champ.
Could be. Josh Emmett, he can't beat. I don't think he'll beat. Arnold Allen's gonna out-grapple him, I think. Yair Rodriguez is too dynamic for him. Brian Ortega would sub him, or even pick apart on the feet, and then Max Holloway is Max Holloway, and he'll Max Holloway him because he's Max Holloway.
Yeah, I don't think I still think Max is the best featherweight. Period. I think he won all those fights against Volkanovski.
I know, but it's okay. It's okay.
I think he won every single fight against, especially the last one. But let me look at that list again. So I actually agree with Johan. I actually think that there's a good chance for Korean Zombie to be the guy in the top 5 that he could beat. And the reason why I'm saying that is because timing is everything. And Chan Sung Jung is towards the end of his career. Let's be real. The dude's a veteran. He's been here for a while. Surprised he's still at the top, but he is a good guy. He's a good fighter. So you can't count him out. But at the same time, I think styles make fights. I think that's a good stylistic fight. And I think momentum swings in Bryce's favor and youth. So I think out of everybody in the top 5, he has a good chance against Zombie. He actually has a good chance against Yair just based on what Edgar was able to do to Yair. Showed the grappling was very much of a weakness to Yair. He's more of a Taekwondo type striker. Josh Emmett, no. Calvin Kattar, no. Arnold Allen, no. Giga, maybe. Dan Ige, definitely. Might as well put him against Danny Ige. That's the next guy. I mean, it's right there, number 9. Put him against Danny Ige. He'll probably drown him.
Dude, we're talking about like he needs to fill some holes in his game, and we're saying that he can beat number 3 and number 4, and that's like top contention right there.
But honestly,
it's just stylistically.
It's just style and it's the way it's set up.
Yeah.
But it just shows that, hey, he has a style that can be very dominant in a striking heavy division, right? Because look, I mean, you look at the champion, right? He is a guy that's very good striking, but also great on the ground, right? But you look at most of the division, Max Holloway, Korean Zombie, Kattar, Chikadze, Ige, Barbosa. That's about 6 of the top 10 that are just primarily strikers. And then you have the other guys, Yair, Ortega, that are good on submission as well. Better striker, Josh Emmett, right? Arnold Allen, that are just more of those grappling-based guys. That's why I think Arnold Allen can be a really heavy threat in this division. So let's get into this final question for this fight here. Who do you guys think he should fight next? And who do you? Or I didn't say that. Who do you think he will fight next?
You can go first. I've been going first all the time.
Dan Ige.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense. Number 9, number 10. I think that's a good fight stylistically. I think, honestly, now that I'm looking at the top 10, I think Bryce has a chance to actually crack the top 5. I didn't think so before until I looked at the list. And I looked at the list and I'm like, okay, the list is threw me off a little bit. I think because of the timing factor. A lot of those fighters in the top 5 are near the end of their prime, I would say. They got their cracks already. Brian got 2 cracks already. Yair made it, almost made it. Chan Sung Jung, come on, man. He's old already, kind of.
Yeah.
I think it's going to favor Bryce being so young, undefeated with the momentum, the mindset. I'm changing my mind. I think he can crack top 5, bro. I just don't think he can beat Brian Ortega.
No.
Definitely cannot beat Alex Volkanovski. Never. Unless, he gets really old. And Max, come on, he's not going to beat Max.
Yeah, no. So I'm looking at it, and Alex actually brought up a point. They're trying to build Bryce Mitchell up as a household name, and what better way than to put him up against Yair Rodriguez? If you want to shoot him to the moon, Yair Rodriguez is not on good terms with the UFC, and Bryce Mitchell is. And stylistically, this favors Bryce Mitchell more than Yair Rodriguez. But the problem is, the only thing is that Yair is just a dynamic striker that he might be able to catch Bryce Mitchell. That being said, you can also say the same thing for Bryce Mitchell, is that he's such an amazing grappler that he might be able to neutralize Yair. That would be an interesting matchup, and that might be a matchup if they want to shoot him to the moon, main event of fight night, that might be the one. More likely than not, it's going to be Dan Ige, and he's going to pick him apart. No offense. Man, we keep trashing Dan Ige, but no offense. But that's the most likely matchup. But a fight against Yair Rodriguez, if they want to, build him up as a top fighter, that would probably be the one to do.
Yeah, I mean, the question is how fast do they want to build them, right? Because you see, they'd see like with somebody like, and obviously it's different because Sean O'Malley definitely has a lot more hype behind him, right. But they tend to just want to be kind of slow cook some of these guys, and then you have somebody like Hamza where they shoot him just straight to the moon. I think this is a guy you want to slow cook, right? I think this is a guy you want to let develop his skills, and I think Dan Ige is that perfect matchup because you don't want
to happen what happened with Sage Northcutt, where they just like rushed him.
It's too fast.
Yeah.
And then
even Darren Till.
Yeah, they rushed Darren Till.
Then you can shoot him to Yair.
Right, exactly. And then on top of that, you don't want him to fight somebody that's also a rising contender. Right. So you don't want to have him fight Arnold Allen. No. You don't want to have him fight Giga Chikadze yet either, in my opinion, because or even Josh Emmett, because he's coming off of that injury. I believe he had that knee injury. He's still coming off a win streak, but he's coming up right. He's winning as well. So I think for him, Dan Ige is that perfect next matchup for him. Honestly, we're not even going to talk too much about the Greg Hardy fight because it didn't really deserve to be on the main card, in my opinion. But Sergey Spivak defeated Greg Hardy pretty easy. Was able just to pretty much take him down to the ground and pound. End of story. Do you guys have any thoughts on this fight? Or Bruce, I'll let you go ahead.
I think we saw a fight between a fighter and an NFL player. Is what we saw. We saw a fighter against an athlete, someone who doesn't know how to be the nail. And when he's a nail, he folds. He got that full mount, and it was over. And it just seems like he's just so unexperienced. He didn't know what to do at all when he was on full mount. He didn't know. He had nothing. That just showed his experience. Honestly, I think Greg Hardy's lucky that he got into the UFC in the first place. I think they leveraged maybe a little bit of his name and his status, but in reality, did he belong there? Probably not. And I don't think he's gonna make it. I think he's probably gonna end up getting cut, bro. To be honest, I don't know. Spivak, I think he did what everybody thought he was gonna do. Just ground and pound him.
Right. Yeah. No, I don't know, man. It's like the way that he reacted when he was in full mount. It's like his training camp did not train for that, because that is something you can tell when he was reacting. He never trained that. He was never prepared for that, and that shows how green he is to the sport. I mean, granted, he's still, again, I said it, he's still punching from his hips. That's a big red flag when you're fighting in the top MMA organization. I don't think they're gonna cut him yet, just because he is, for some reason, they still hold him in high regards. Just look at his position in each of the cards. He's still in high regards, but the best thing for his career, if he wants to continue being in MMA, which I think he has promised, but being at the UFC, fighting the UFC, is gonna stunt that growth, because he's gotten far enough with his physical attributes. All the success he's had is because he's been the strongest person, and he's been a natural freak athlete. But in my advice, I'd rather him go to like LFA or even Titan FC, not Bellator or PFL. He needs to go to a more of a farming league, somewhere where he can develop his skills and fight fighters of his level. Bellator and PFL are still a tier above him. He's about 2 tiers below the UFC and 1 tier above PFL, LFA, even Eagle FC and stuff like that. Those organizations, he needs to go to a farming league, a system where he can just develop.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. But it'd be tough to see if he actually can develop these skills. I mean, he's already so not late, but he's had a couple years to develop some of these skills, and it just seems like he's marginally developed any of them. Right?
It's just hard, because you're trying to have him develop, but at the same time, when he's having the success, you're putting him against guys who are already established. It's hard for him to develop when he's fighting guys like Marcin Tybura, Tai Tuivasa, who just knocked out Derek Lewis, who I don't know if I looked at the rankings, but he's in the top 5 now, right? I'm pretty sure. So like, you're fighting you're putting him against guys where he's completely overmatched, even top 3. Even Alexander Volkov. Like, these are guys who are just like overly matched against him. It's like he still can develop, because he still has that passion for it and stuff like that. He just needs to go. I feel like he needs to go to a feeder league.
Yeah, maybe even in camp would serve him pretty well. But overall, man, main event, just real quick, I want you guys give me from 1 to 10 your score on how much you enjoyed the main event. Bruce, go ahead.
Honestly, come on, it's like a 4.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, I think it's because I also overhyped it myself. Like, in my mind, like, I was waiting for this. Alex is right. It is a 5. I agree with you. It is a 5. Overall, like, I think it's because I was hyping it up too much in my head, that I was like so excited for this event, this grudge match, and all of that, that I think my expectations were too high. And honestly, we actually got like what was supposed to happen. Really, with every fight, we got exactly what was supposed to happen. Colby Covington fought his game. Rafael Dos Anjos as expected, dominated the short notice fight. Kevin Holland stopped him, which was exciting for us. Greg Hardy looked green, which we expected. And then what was another one? Bryce Mitchell dominated in the grappling, which we also expected. So all these fights were everything we expected. And I think we just held too much account for the main event, even though we knew what was going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, all of us. And I do want to give a shout out to Cure Bless, saying y'all late as hell. LMAO. Hope all is well. Hope all is well for you, my man. Appreciate you joining us this late. You know, we'll keep you covered right after that, right after the fights, man. That's what we do. If anybody who just wants to talk, you know, when the fights are done, before sometimes I just go and we'd go to bed, I'd be sleeping or just laying in bed thinking about these fights. Hey man, what we got here? We're on the 5 Region Sports Network. Got the boys. All these guys love fights. We just talk about it. Why not talk about it with you guys? So appreciate you joining us, Cure. Appreciate you joining us, Alex. I know you Cap for Life joined us earlier, and I appreciate Caleb Burge for joining us earlier. I'm pretty sure that's Johan's friend over here. So Greg Hardy was favored to win. I'm not sure. Was he? If he was,
No, he wasn't.
yeah, no. If you were, dude, that's easy money. If you didn't pick him. But overall, I would give it a 5.5. Right. The main event had some fun moments. Right. The Greg Hardy, you'd expected him to get knocked out. It was a ground and pound win. Right. Kevin Holland got the victory. Bryce Mitchell, I thought it was pretty exciting. I thought that Bryce Mitchell fight was pretty fun. Yeah, I was very impressed with that one as well. RDA and Moicano was very slow pace just because it was a grit and ground fight. But the last 30 seconds were exciting. So, you know, like Johan said, we set a pace. We wanted a little more excitement than we got. We put a lot more stake into that main event, thinking that the heat would change the type of matchup that it was. But at the end of the day, it was striker versus grappler. We knew the grappler at the end of the day was going to win. That's why me and Johan, we both went 5-0 in our main card picks. So we went pretty good on there. Let's get into these prelims. And then, Johan, I know you were driving on here for some of them. So you did miss the fight that you were actually dying to see, my man. You missed Johnathan versus Marina Rodriguez. And Marina got the win. She was able to get the win. Jalen Turner was able to get the knockout win over Jamie Malarkey. We were able to see Kennedy in Zetriku. I'm pretty sure that he took the L in that one. Yeah, he took in that one. Nikolai won in there. Let me see what else is here. Oh, yeah. Marna Moraz, standout out of Ukraine, fighting for her hometown, defeating Maria Agapova, which I think that was just a phenomenal win. The story there is incredible, right? Somebody who's fighting, your family's over at home in Ukraine with the situation, and you know, obviously, hope all is well for anybody that has there. And Umar Nurmagomedov destroying Brian Kelleher. Tim Elliott with the surprising win. Surprising win over Tagir Olenbekov. And then we saw Ludwig Klein defeating Devontae Smith and Justin Jacoby defeating Michal Olajczyk. Now, let's get into your thoughts on the prelims before we close out the show. Thoughts on all the prelims as a whole, all the ones you got to fight. You know, you can talk about whichever fights you want. Bruce, I'll start with you on this. You got to watch some of them with me. You watched some at home. What were your thoughts on the prelims?
Well, the first one was, I believe, was can't pronounce her Morales, or last name.
The Morales one,
yeah. I thought the end of that very impressive. Showed a lot of heart. Showed that she really meant what she said at the end, and rightfully so. You know, they're going through interesting times right now, so she fought with a lot of emotion, and it favored her, and she came out victorious. And then in the other fight was one of Khabib's guys, right? And Tim Elliott. Man, Tim Elliott was about as good as you've ever seen him. Like, that was and you know what's crazy about Tim Elliott is he's always had that ability to show us when he's on, he is world class, man. He's championship material when he's on. But for some reason, Tim Elliott is just not consistent. He can be on sometimes, and then sometimes he's not. But he did win that fight fair and square. That was a clear decision. I actually texted you and told you 2-1, clear. And Umar, yeah, come on, man, dominant. And you know, it wasn't like it was a matchup too where it was like, oh, grappler versus striker. Yeah, you know, no, he fought another guy who was well rounded, a veteran who was a grappler too, and a strong guy, and finished him. that's a bad, MF you want to watch out for. I think in that weight division, he's going to be top 5 in no time. I feel bad though because Khabib was mad during the Tim Elliott fight. You saw him like banging the thing because he was, because Tim Elliott did a veteran move. He grabbed the glove and pulled him in. And I mean, hey man, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. So I'm not mad at him. He pulled that off. I think the other exciting fight was Rodriguez versus Jan. Oh my God, that was such a good fight. I was on my feet for that one. Jan came out explosive. She came out full, all cylinders firing. But I expected Rodriguez to win, and I honestly expected Rodriguez to win by a bigger margin. It was a close fight, honestly. I thought they were going to give it to Jan, but when they gave it to Rodriguez, I'm not going to complain because obviously that's somebody I picked to win. But let's be real, if they gave it to Jan, no one would have been arguing. But that was a tough fight either way for both of them. I think both their stocks go up. I think they're both going to meet each other again in the future, and I think they're both going to be at the top of the division. The light heavyweight fight. Those names are hard to say, man. God, you know how to say them? Injectuku. Yeah. So I thought I was fighting. I thought I was seeing a heavyweight versus a middleweight, to be honest. But the was he Russian?
I can't remember where he's fighting out of. It's some crazy place.
I can't say his last name, bro. But that guy, he came out with heart. His name is Nikolai, right?
Yeah.
Nikolai came out with pure heart. I mean, the guy was in his face the whole time. He was putting the pressure on. And I just felt like even though he was ahead 2 rounds to 0, I mean, 2 rounds basically up, I thought he could have just coasted, but he chose to still put on the pressure and go for the kill. And that impressed me. And he deserved that win without a doubt. But I was not expecting him to win, to be honest. I thought he was going to take an L on that one. He was very undersized, but he surprised me. Has a lot of heart. I think he has a bright future. I think he should move down a weight class. Be interested to see him at middleweight against, with his style. I would be interested to see him against Paulo Costa, Marvin Vettori, because of his body, physique, and the way he is. He's built like those guys. He's, stocky, explosive. So I think we saw, honestly, the prelims were better than the main card. The prelims were better than the main card. And I even saw the early prelims, the free ones on ESPN app, right? So those fights were amazing too, as well. So yeah, I think all the fights were great. We saw a lot of promising up and comers, people that are going to literally be next in line. And I think the fighter who impressed me the most was Umar.
Real quick, I want to answer something. I do want to shout out Cure Bless. Appreciate you joining me and appreciate you saying that I'm your favorite, man. I really do appreciate that. It means a lot to me. So thank you, Cure Bless, for that comment. Johan, give me your thoughts on the prelims that you did see, and the victories in them. So give me your thoughts on some of the victories and the outcomes of those fights.
Yeah, Tim Elliott really fucked me on this one, man. So I have a show. I have a show for UCF, and I was undefeated in predictions, and I predicted that Tagir Ulanbekov was going to beat Tim Elliott in my picks, and now I'm not undefeated anymore because of Tim Elliott. So good job, Tim Elliott. You really screwed me on that one. But I love seeing veterans become vintage again. He fought freely. He fought like similar to how he fought during his Ultimate Fighter run. So carefree, so careless, everything. Like he didn't have to think about any movement, and it really disrupted Tagir. And that's what impressed me about that, because Tagir is one of those guys. Again, most of those guys that Khabib are coaching are destined for greatness, Tagir included. And a fight like this really, showed that, he's not done, because he fought a rising prospect. It wasn't just like a green guy or someone that was like just signing a contract, or like who just signed a contract and is making their debut. It's a guy that people had high hope for. The UFC had high hopes for. So the fact that he was able to disrupt the rhythm and kind of like just be creative in terms of, whether he was on the ground or stopping takedowns or like his striking, he was able to just, make it his fight. And that's what impressed me a lot. And I didn't get to watch it. I heard the great things about it, but that Marina Rodriguez fight, I'm just glad that she won because I've told you so many times I was so excited for this Marina Rodriguez fight that I didn't get to damn watch. I didn't get to watch it. I'm glad that she won, and I told you it was a pick'em fight. I told you it was really close, and it was close because it was a split decision. It could have gone either way, but with this win, she's definitely in title contention. I think Carla Esparza is the one that's gonna get the next title shot, but she's right after that. Like her wins have been so impressive ever since the start of 2021, where she beat Amanda Hebos and then beating Michelle Watterson, then beating Mackenzie Dern, and now beating Yan Zhao Nan. That has to put her in title contention. She is skyrocketed since last year. Since the beginning of last year, she has skyrocketed. And, I've been on this Marina Rodriguez train. You guys should too, because honestly, there's a chance she might be the next champion in that division. I'm telling you right now.
I mean, with the skills she has, and like Bruce said, man, that fight could have gone either way. I thought Jan honestly won that fight, but with the skills she has, she just has the ability, and that's the most. They said it on the broadcast. It's the most stacked division as far as the women's division go. Like that division is so deep, and it just has no shortage of challengers from top to bottom. It's just one of those phenomenal decisions. My thoughts on the prelims, Jalen Turner, I thought that was a phenomenal performance by him. The way he was able to put out Malarkey. Malarkey has really good. Yeah, you definitely call that. Yeah, that was. That was a really impressive performance because Malarkey is a guy that has really good head movement, does a good job getting on the inside, and I actually picked him to win. And Jalen Turner, he shut me up, man. He was able to get the victory. You guys, talked about the Marina Rodriguez fight. That was just a great fight, phenomenal overall. Umar, Umar is continuing to get better, and I think the most surprising thing about this fight was just how he put his boxing together. Because now we saw before he was very kick heavy, but if he's able to employ the boxing as well, that just makes him so much more dangerous. Because I mean, we already know how good he is on the ground. Once he takes you to the ground, he's gonna get your back. He's gonna choke you out. That's what he did to Brian Kelleher tonight, and that's just what he does. That's what Umar does. He takes your back, and he'll do that over and over again. But now with the kicks, he's adding to a little bit of boxing there too. And if that boxing can catch up, this man's a goddamn problem in the 135-pound division. So let's get to one of our favorite games here. Let's get to guess the bonus.
Don't put Umar against
So
Sean O'Malley.
No, he's fucked.
we had two performance bonuses, and there was actually a fight of the night. I did not expect there to be a fight of the night.
Is it really?
There was a fight of the night. So
Okay.
it's a couple people in the comments. Cure Bless saying, I remember I was scrolling through YouTube and saw some guy's eye popped out of his damn head while fighting. God damn. Yeah.
PFL.
That was actually PFL. I'm not sure if that's the same one because there's another fight that's like a viral clip that a guy's eye popped out while he was fighting. No, I don't know which is, but PFL recently I went to that event live. I got to go cover that for 5 reasons. Yeah, the guy got his eye pretty much popped out. So that was a fun experience to get to watch. And actually, I want to give a shout out to one of my friends, Brooke, who we know from the gym, who was working as a medical staff at PFL. So that was pretty cool to go see her there as well. So let's get to our favorite game, man. Let's get to guess the bonus. So there was, like I said, and everybody in the comments, I want you to get to do without cheating, of course, because y'all got Google. There was 2 performance bonuses, and there was 1 fight of the night. So let me give you the finishes of the night so you can guess the bonuses, right? We know about the Kevin Holland. He got the knockout finish. Sergey Spivak with the ground and pound finish. Jalen Turner with the second round knockout finish. Marina Myrna Moroz, Jesus Christ, getting the arm triangle in the second round. The rear naked choke by Umar. And those were your finishes to the night. So everybody in the comments, guess your 2 performance of the night bonuses and your fight of the night. Bruce, I'll start with you on this one. Who you thought your 2 performance was and who was your fight of the night?
The 2 performances of the night have to be in the prelims. It has to be. And it has to be Umar for performance. And we also have to go with Tim Elliott. And I think with fight of the night, we have to go with Rodriguez and Jan, without a doubt. Even if that's not true, that should have been the one.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree. I'm gonna go with the fight I didn't watch because if we're going off the fights on the main card, then there was no fight of the nights on the main card, and all the stuff that I saw on Twitter was that the fight was like a technical masterclass. So I'm gonna go with Marina Rodriguez and Yao Jianan for fight of the night. In terms of the prelims, this is kind of hard because there was a few impressive finishes and performances, and there's only 2, so I have to pick wisely. Do I want to go 2 prelims or do I want to go a main card and a prelim? So I'm gonna stick with the traditional formula. I'm gonna go main card and prelim. So I'm gonna go with Kevin Holland as one, and then I'm gonna go with Umar Nurmagomedov as the other one because he did have a really impressive performance. I want to go with Tim Elliott, but fuck Tim Elliott. He fucked me over, so I'm not gonna go with that. So I'll go Kevin Holland and Umar, and then Yan Johnathan and Marina Rodriguez for Fight of the Night.
So I have no idea how this got Fight of the Night. The main event,
No, you're lying.
I swear, the
No,
main
you're
event,
fucking lying.
it's right here.
Nah,
You guys can see the fight.
George.
Dude, that's
Jorge
bullshit.
Masvidal and Colby Covington.
Bro, they're already rich. Why would you give them more money?
Bro, that shit was boring.
That's messed up, bro.
That was boring. No
That's
way.
messed up,
I
bro.
knew you were gonna say
Those
some
ladies- those
I knew you
ladies
were gonna say
deserve
some
that.
bullshit, bro.
Those ladies
Uh,
deserve that. man.
I'm gonna have to check if this is a typo, but from what I'm seeing, yeah, go ahead and Google that for me real quick. Give me a quick fact check. Kevin Holland did get that bonus.
Oh, he did?
Kevin Holland did get the bonus. You're right there, the performance bonus.
I knew it.
And then Myrna Moroz
Oh, that's nice.
with the arm triangle.
That's nice.
They gave her the performance bonus.
I-
So
I
she
should-
deserved it.
I should
Yeah.
deserve that.
Right.
No.
I believe
Bro,
they did.
Oh
Okay.
my
So
God.
somehow
Who's doing this? Who's the one that does it?
that's Dana White
Dana White.
usually.
How the
I'm
fuck?
very confused.
Crazy.
So
Because you know why? It's because Kobe doesn't have no
They're
pay-per-view
rich.
buys. No pay-per-view
yeah,
buys.
no pay-per-view points for Colby. Alex, I'm saying, wow, that's
Those deserve
terrible.
that, man.
Yeah. Marina Rodriguez and Yan Johnathan was easily fight of the night.
Yeah, fine. I
Um,
didn't watch. Yeah.
I was on my feet for that.
I think that Alex Oliveira Kevin Holland rightfully deserved
Yeah, 100%.
that.
I don't argue with that.
You know what I mean?
It's a good topic.
But I think they didn't even give one to Umar, and he was able to get the first round rear naked choke.
Deserves that.
You know, they can only give out 200,000. You know, they can't go 250.
And what about Tim? Come on, my boy Tim just to shock the world.
I think that they could have given them fight of the night. That was probably the third best fight of the night.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because Elliott won the first two, and then Tagir won that third round very clearly. So that was a very interesting fight. But yeah, Alex, I'm saying Bryce Mitchell should have got some money too. I'm pretty sure Dana White's probably going to give him some money on the back end. Like he does for some fighters. We've heard stories.
Some little bonus. It's not
Yeah.
like,
It's like a little 10K, a little
little
15K.
10K,
You know what I mean? Like something like that.
10X
But
off their winning bonus.
right, exactly, right.
Yeah, but like, dude, what the 50,000 for Colby Covington and Jorge?
I don't understand why they got that main event.
It didn't.
That makes no sense to
No.
me.
No.
Out of all the fights,
No.
I knew you were gonna say some bullshit. I knew
Yeah,
you were.
it
I
was.
like,
It's definitely some bullshit. But yeah, man. Guys, any in the comments, any final thoughts? And if you're checking this out after us, make sure you hit that like button as well. If you're not already, hit subscribe. Make sure we're always gonna keep you covered on the post-fight coverage. Me and Johan do your pre-fight coverage on your betting picks. Like I said, went 5-0, 5-0 for your main card pick. So if you bet with us, you actually made a ton of money on this main card.
Not financial advice.
Not financial advice, right?
that's your life savings.
Yeah, but
Put
you
the
know.
house on it.
put the house on it. But if you want some financial advice if you want some non-financial advice about crypto, hit up our boy Bruce. He knows everything about that. Take care of you on the Forex side, carrying crypto side, everything investment wise. He'll take care of you. So make sure you check him out. Guys, any final thoughts before we close out the show?
Honestly, it was a pleasure, boys, as always, doing the post fight with you guys. I think the card was good. I think it was a good card, mainly because of the prelims. I think the main card had some good fights. Kevin Holland delivered. He was Kevin Holland. I'm interested out of everything from the whole entire fight card, and maybe it's just because I'm a fan, but I'm really concerned and interested in what happens next for George.
Yeah, so before I get into the fight, I do want to say it was really good, having this experience in person with both of you guys. This was a great time. This was a great show. I mean, we talked for an hour and fucking 20 minutes. It's about to be 3 a.m. I'm definitely not going home. I'm going to my aunt's house because it is too fucking far. I would get there at like 4 or 5. But honestly, this was a good experience. And in terms of the card, even though it didn't live up to expectations, we were still able to see some future in the prelims. Marina Rodriguez probably being, she might skip the line against Carla Esparza. There's a chance, but You seen another prospect in Umar Nurmagomedov make his way into the bantamweight, most likely in the bantamweight rankings. It's Bryce Mitchell, Kevin Holland, Sergey Spivak. I mean, he beat up Greg Hardy. I mean, beating up Greg Hardy, your name value goes up for some reason. But I mean, overall, it was not the best night of fights, but it was still, I love being a fight fan. I love covering fights, no matter how low, how boring, or how exciting. I'll cover every aspect of it, and it was another great weekend.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we might have ranked this card as a 5, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it as a 10, right? Like, first of all, first time getting to meet Johan in person. You know what I mean? Bruce, we go back with the gym, but we don't get to do this in person. As first time we actually did it in person and show. So, appreciate you guys joining me. No matter what, like Johan said, man, just getting the fact to cover fights, just talk about fights, watch them, break them down. At the end of the day, it's something we love to watch. I mean, Bruce gets to train, try to get it in every now and then, but it's just a phenomenal sport. It's a sport that's very different just from our every other kind of regular sport, because it's kind of the most true sport, because you have one-on-one. There's no coach. I mean, there's coach, but it's it's just one-on-one, and the only thing you can do is just with that time with that other person, and there's only one third person in that octagon, and that's the referee. But everybody, it's an hour 20 deep. We got 6 people live. Cure Bless, Alex M, Cat for Life. Everybody, thank you guys for commenting. Appreciate you guys for liking the video. If there's anything else you want us to add to this post-game show, make sure you guys comment so that we can help make the show a little bit better for you. But as always, thank you guys for checking out the 5 Reasons post-game show right here on the 3-Piece Combo MMA Show from Johan, Bruce, and myself. Thank you again, and we'll see you guys after the next fight.